Hello, I'm Lauren. This is Improving the World. I'm an international improviser based in Hong Kong, and I talk with amazing women in improv all over the world. Today, I talked to Hila Di Castro in Israel. We talked about gender in improv. We had quite the rousing discussion, and I hope that you enjoy. So, Hila, you're a talented and diverse human being. You run 3 businesses, a performer, an improviser, a teacher. What does an average day or week look like for you?
Mm-hmm. Let's say that there is an average day or
Okay.
week. Basically, it's like morning kids, work stuff, kids, work stuff.
Gosh, so you are introducing and explaining yourself as a parent as much as you are a performer and business owner. How much of your identity for you is about the balance and how you divide your energy?
Ooh, this is a very interesting and hard question. I think it changes a lot. When I tell people who I am, I don't start with me being a mother of kids. I start with me being an actress and an improviser and a trainer, a woman, and then I go into being a parent or being a mother. It doesn't mean that it equals less, but I do feel for me it's important to define myself first with the things that I love to do, the core of who I am, and then of what I have become over the years, if that makes sense, because I became a mother.
That might change too over the years. You might explain who you are and identify differently through time as you go
Exactly.
forward.
It always changes. And I can say that with every kid that I had, I became a better actress and a better improviser and a
Hmm.
better trainer.
That was almost a sales pitch for me to procreate, but not enough. Sorry. I'm just curious about how one defines themselves and how society can define you, whether or not it's intentional from society. You hear this is how you should think or be or act or whatever. When for you, society has given you this messaging.
I'll start with this. I got married when I was 27. At 30, I had my first kid. I didn't question those things. The place where I grew up and society in Israel and everything I saw around me, there was no questions. Like, this is the way you should be and do. And if you're 29 and if you're not in a relationship or getting married, then there's something wrong with you. Biological clock is ticking. Come on. Only at the age of 32 when I met the first woman that said, listen, I don't want kids. And I was like, what? Can you even do that?
It's allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Or when you have your first kid, everyone tells you you're gonna fall in love with it in the very first second that you will see it. It's not the case sometimes, that you need to adapt yourself to it. Or the fact that, so I feel like society doesn't talk about a lot of things. We accept things for granted. So for me, a lot of the choices that I made in my life was according to what society expected from me. Even going to school, I started business school and then dropped out and said, no, I want to be an actress.
If you only know the choices are getting married, having kids, going to business school, how can you choose something else?
This is what I try to do right now, because sometimes the obvious is the obvious. But I think, and especially as improvisers, we should question everything. We should see something and ask, can it be the total opposite? And I would say even more of that. Do you know the game freeze tag?
Yeah.
Where you have, we all know it as improvisers, right? Where you have a scene and then you go freeze and someone switch. And so for me, the whole freeze tag is the mechanism of how you can change the world and how you can change pattern in yourself. You don't know what you can change before you get into this freeze. You need to learn the freeze first. You need to learn your society, your culture, your history. What do you like? What do you know? You need to understand the freeze first, what you get into. Once you're there, your body knows how to change the scene. Like, once you're there, you know how to change the patterns, the things that you want for yourself. 7 years ago, I sat with my co-founder of the gender workshop, the 20,000 words, and we talked about a lot of stuff gender-wise, and she opened my eyes. I suddenly saw the world in different gender glasses. I started investigating and research and exploring all kinds of stuff, and then I asked myself, all right, if this is the case, and patterns are not strict, how can I change my life and my world?
Hmm.
And this is the point that I started to become an international improviser, leaving home to travel and teach. This is the place where we started the workshop. This is the place where I started my gender laboratory workshop for improvisers to teach them about gender patterns. And this is the point where I started to educate my kids a bit different.
I wonder if what you're talking about is self-care, because we're talking about understanding your own boundaries, the inherent possibilities, or those that maybe don't seem so obvious, how you manage and take care of what it is that you want, freezing the moment, flipping it. And I wonder if beyond a massage, love a massage, realizing what is out there, what you can do, what you can control is in and of itself an act of self-care.
Of course. Self-care, I think, is everything that has to deal with you, that you take care of yourself without thinking of what other people would think. Most people will say it's selfish. I don't know if you know the concept of Abraham Hicks. But basically, it's the law of attraction. In our words, the universe is an improviser. For whatever you will say about yourself, the universe will say yes and. If you will say, I'm living in wealth, the universe will say yes and this is what it will bring you. If you say, I'm miserable, the universe will say yes and so on, so on, so on. The main thing that she talks about there is self-care. You need to take care of how you feel. You need to feel good in order to give good to the world. She's very funny. She said, when people ask, but that is selfish. And she said, absolutely, yes. You need to be selfish in order to give back to the world. And I see it with myself. When I feel good about things I do and about who I am, then the people around me and my kids and my students and my friends, I'm in a good place so I can shine light upon them. So for me, self-care is meditate, is figuring out what you want to do and do the things that you want to do. Don't put yourself aside. Take care of how you feel. Pursue your dreams, no matter what. Don't tell yourself, if I'm a mother, my kid needs me, so I'll stay more home for them. My partner cannot handle this, so I'll stay home for him or her. People would not like me doing this. People would say this. No. Take self-care.
How about getting into a space where you're interacting with others and potentially very intimately? So performing on stage is really about trust and support, especially if done well, being conscious of your boundaries, your needs, whatever it is. Specifically as well in terms of a gender discussion about being a woman on the stage.
Where to start from?
Right.
I think self-care is also on stage. Plus, being a good partner in improv is first take care of myself. I don't remember who said it. When you sit on an airplane and something is wrong, you need to put the mask first on you and then to your kid or someone else. So it's exactly the same. Being a good partner on stage is saying out loud the things that I need, the things that I want, to be present on stage.
Now, just to be clear, you're talking about literally in the scene, you, the character, saying, I really need la la right now, or in an offstage setting, say, hey, people that I play with, I need you to both.
Both, of course. Let's say I'm going on stage with someone and I don't like kissing on stage. I have the responsibility to tell that person, listen, this is my boundary. Because otherwise he would not know and he can do something that is wrong, or he will not know what to do. So he will, this happens a lot with touch and intimacy on stage when we don't know if our partner will agree, so we avoid it at all, or we do stuff that hurts. I have a responsibility to say out loud, what are my boundaries and what do I want to need? I can be on the scene with you and I can tell you, I want to run and kiss you right now. You can say yes or no. It would be so much simpler than avoiding it. Other than the intimacy and touch and boundaries, I do want to talk about self-care as women, because I travel around the world and I talk to a lot of women. Sometimes I get the feeling that women are waiting for men to open the door for them in improv on stage. I see a lot of shows, mixed teams. It doesn't always work the way that I'm saying right now, because if you have a team that works really good together, then you will not see it. I often see that men are more loud, assertive, confident on stage, given the punches, women are more hesitant to speak up, to say stuff, to say bold choices, to move the scene forward. They're afraid to step on someone's toes, so they're more polite. I think that as women, in order for men to give us room, we need to take the room first. It's like a split scene. This side is talking. This side will not know when to shut up if this side will not start talking.
Yeah.
So women need to step up, speak louder, take initiative, go forward, stop being afraid and stop being polite. Just do it. They will give us the room once we do it. So we need to train both sides.
You have this company that you run with a business partner who has a gender equality educational background, which is so cool.
Yeah.
How do you use improv as an entry point to this discussion?
This works so amazingly together. Really, so amazingly, because mostly when you talk about gender and when you want to educate people about gender, it goes like very boring, yada yada. Oh. And what we both figured out is, in order to change the world, you cannot be that angry woman, angry feminist who's gonna tell everyone what they're doing wrong. No, being light and with humor about it actually makes more difference. We sat together and we talked. She talked about a theory in gender, and I was like, hey, you know what? There's an improv game that shows exactly this human behavior. And then she talked about something else, and I was like, listen, there's an improv game that, yeah. So we use improv games for two things. One, to make people laugh, to make people let down their guards, to be connected in the group. It's super fun. Every game that we do has this something that we take out from that can be talked about gender. Just a short example. We have the game in Hebrew, it's the specialist. When you have a person that is talking and another person puts his hand here, and the hands is someone, we do this game and then we ask the audience who led the scene, the person that was talking or the person with the hands. And then we say, you know what? It doesn't even matter, because the person that we see is the person in front who's talking. And then we talk about history, how throughout history, what we mainly see is men on front, and we don't see the hands or the women that were in the background. And why don't we know about women and stuff like that? But this is like the starting point of who do we see throughout history.
Yeah. Okay, let's go there. I think we have to. So much of what you do is about trusting the other people and creating a safe space. Talk to me about the kinds of discussions you're having right now. I'm now reading this about Me Too, and I want to know your thoughts as a performer and as a teacher.
I think the whole Me Too movement brought something into this world, which basically is stop being ashamed and speak out. Like speak out, talk out loud at the things. And for me, that was a real inspiration to everything that involved the improv scene. Because on one hand, unfortunately, the improv scene is not lacking of Me Too stories. I've personally had like 2 of them, and it's a shame. On the other hand, the Me Too movement affected so much the improv world that we are afraid to touch it. We're afraid to do intimate scene. We are afraid to touch each other on stage. So it affected us in 2 ways. For me, it's the concept of speak up, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I can say that for me, I've been practicing this for some years now. And only recently I got into a place where I can speak up and be okay with that. Because speaking up is scary. We don't know what people are going to say. We don't know how they're going to address it. We don't know if they are going to take us seriously. And when I say speak up, I say speak up if or when something is happening to you, if or something is happening to someone you know. When you gather before a show, talk about your boundaries. When you're on stage, dare to stop a scene that you not feel comfortable in. In Lamabati, my former group, one person, Uri Lifshitz, he brought this concept into the team of a safe word. If something happens on stage and we feel not comfortable with it, we're going to say the safe word, and everyone knows that this is the line. It evolves like after a show.
Mm.
Come to a person that made you feel uncomfortable after a show and say, listen, this and this made me feel uncomfortable. Man or woman, because we can, we can make each other feel not comfortable on
Mm.
stage. It's not necessarily that if we're two women on stage that I can do stuff, grab you and stuff like that because we're two
Mm.
women. It's
Yep.
not. So the whole thing is speaking out and how you react to someone who is speaking out. I feel that we need to know the biological mechanism who prevents us to speak up. First, we freeze. When something happens, we have the flight, we have the fight,
Mm.
but we also have the freeze.
Mm.
And freeze means that I can freeze and not do anything. It means that I can start talking a lot because I don't know what to do.
Mm.
It can be that I'm blocking this and talk about something else. It can be so many things, the way we freeze. So we need to understand this. We need to understand the years of women in society being trained unconsciously to shut up, to be beautiful. If you speak up, then you're a bitch. If you're too assertive, then you're a bitch. You're hysterical. You're taking things the wrong way. So we need to understand this, the confusion mechanism and the self-blame mechanism.
Mm.
We think that we did something wrong if someone did something to us.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand those three mechanisms, the freeze, self-blame, and confusion, you can start forgiving yourself for not doing those three. And then, only then, you can start and speak up. And when you hear someone else speaking up, you need to react from a place where you understand those three mechanisms, to understand how hard it was for that person to speak up.
Mm.
And you need to respect it and talk about it and not dismiss it. Men and women.
You run a gender workshop where you work with improvisers specifically. So we talked a little bit before about the public or corporate, but also working to train improvisers. That could be a group itself, or that could be a selection of different people. And a lot of what we said really speaks to improvisers. When you do a gender equality workshop, what kinds of stuff would you cover?
All right. First, I address remember we talked about the freeze tag mechanism?
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning. First, I covered the freeze. I start with a presentation of where we are today.
Okay.
And let's understand what gender means, because we have the biological sex and we have the social sex, which is the gender. And it's not about with what genitals you're born with. It's what you define yourself, how you define yourself in society. And how sexual preference has nothing to do with gender. I'm starting with what gender is, where does it come from, a little bit about history, a little bit about culture. And then, when I got into the freeze place in my improv, I saw that there are two ways that I can change the improv scene around me. One is with how we portray the other gender on stage, or any gender on stage. And the other one is with gender roles and patterns on stage. So at the second part of the workshop, we explore body language. Because there is a difference between, let's say, masculine and feminine body language. We also have very diverse masculine and very diverse feminine, right? We start from understanding body traits. If I go on stage and I don't want to play a stereotype, then I can take something from the body language, just work with this, and then I have the space to create a character, a real character around it. Masculine, feminine, and diversities, because as a woman, I want to play all kinds of characters of all kinds of femininity. Also, the second part is very technical, like body language, and really understand body language of the other side so we can use it. So you can do something really small on stage and the audience will know which gender you are, or if you're with no gender at all. The third part is about breaking patterns and stereotypes and stuff like that. I did this workshop at about 10 countries around the world. I see almost the same patterns. I put two people on stage. You can choose if you play a woman or a man, or in between, like the whole scale. I give them a place and I want to see what comes out. Let's go to the simplest one, but it works almost exactly the same in every country. I give them a surgery room, and immediately the doctor is the man and the nurse is the woman. This is the first pattern, like gender roles in society and jobs. And I say, all right, switch. Let the woman be the doctor, the surgeon, and the man be the nurse. What usually happens is the doctor, as the woman, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's afraid. She's don't know how to approach it. She needs help. Yeah.
No one's seen
Again,
Grey's Anatomy. I mean, come on.
yeah, exactly. And then I stop and I say, well, what I say right now, it's general, right? It's not everywhere or every woman or man will do that. Let's go even deeper. She's the head of the surgery department. She's at the top of her game. She's well known around the world. And then they do the scene again. The woman is a badass, but she doesn't smile. She's very strict and very like manly. So let's break this. She can be soft, right? She can smile and be a badass. So this is just an example of we take something and then we start breaking it and breaking it and breaking it. If you go to the, how do you say it, polish shop, cosmetician?
Oh yeah, go get your hair did. Yeah.
Exactly. So who walks in? Usually it will be two women. All right, let's change it to two men. So the one who is given the facial massage usually will be like feminine or gay or no. Let's go overboard. Let's take a person who is really, really masculine, right? And he's the person who owns this beauty shop. And he's the one who's give facial massage. And he's excellent at what he's doing. And the guy who's coming to get the facial massage, he works in the garage, let's say, all right? Also super masculine. Let's see this. What are they talking about? Don't let them talk about the soccer game or the football game. Talk about your girl said something that hurt you. I was in Canada and I was doing this workshop and we had this amazing scene of two guys were sitting on the sofa and they were talking about football. And then I said, all right, let's stop. What is the pattern? If guys are together, they don't talk about their feelings. So talk about your feelings. They had a really hard time doing that. This guy said, Jane left me. The friend on the scene went like, oh, and he went like this on his back and went like, don't cry, dude, don't cry. And I stopped and I said, all right, let's break this pattern also.
Let's cry, dude.
Yeah, and it was like, let's cry, dude, that sucks. And then you suddenly saw a scene of two men on stage being vulnerable and share their feelings. And the whole thing in the workshop is take a pattern, break it, see what other pattern we have, break it, break it, break it, in order to get to the scenes that we don't see on stage.
Yeah. Well, and I think as well, it's about seeing it, right? That harkens back to what we said earlier. If you only know what you know and you don't know something because it's outside of your bounds, outside of your vision, outside of what society taught you, showed you, whatever, how do you know
exactly
options? So it's about the seeing first, the understanding, right? That kind of like freezing, flipping awareness to then be able to dive into it.
And I think as improvisers, we have the most amazing gift. We create worlds. And I think that we have the responsibility and the privilege to inspire our audience. I want someone who comes into my show to leave my show inspired of how to look at the world a bit different. I want to portray characters on stage that people will relate to, that people would think about it afterwards. This is something that I'm super passionate about. Like, how you can change the world. This is how you can show people other than what they have been educated.
But I'll take it down to an even more foundational concept as a performer. I think it's much more engaging to watch something that you don't see all the time. So we always say you don't start a scene where people are meeting. We've seen people meet 1,000 times. They're on the third date, not the first date, right? It's not a normal Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, but there's a mist rolling in. So we want to see the day that is not the average day. I don't want to see dudes on a sofa watching football because I've seen that. So we want to see the flip. We want to see the difference. When you delve into that space where it is different, it is unique, then you can get that foundation of interesting and different and fun to watch, just entertaining. But then to your point, you can get us to a place where now it's something that I'm inspired by, I feel really connected to, and we can get to something more interesting.
Yes, exactly. And as in a performer point of view,
Mm.
if we will do the guy sitting on the sofa watching TV, everyone would laugh.
Mm. Mm.
Perfect.
Mm.
Now what?
Yeah.
I want my audience to laugh. I want my audience to cry,
Mm.
to gasp out of excitement,
Mm.
to be afraid, to
Yeah.
be in tension. I want my audience to feel like a roller coaster of emotions
Yeah.
in my shows. You know what? Even more, I want the audience to forget that they're in an improv show. I
Mm.
want them to forget that they're in a theater.
Mm.
I want them to be so into the experience that when it ends, they're like, oh, we are here. Only way you can do that if you create characters and relationships
Mm.
that are real, that are engaging, and that people can see themselves in. Making this connection with the audience.
And we should very well be able to make people forget where they are because we're like a casino. You come into a show, there's no clocks and windows. Hila, I'm going to wrap us up. What are your words of wisdom? We've said a lot already.
I think the first and foremost thing I want my younger version of me to know, I'm approaching it this way,
Mm.
is that you're good enough exactly the way you are.
Mm.
You're funny enough, you're smart enough, you're beautiful enough,
Mm.
you're witty, you're everything. You already have everything. Don't try to be anything else.
Mm.
Trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust the things that you want to do, that your heart and mind and stomach tells you that you want to do,
Mm.
and go after them
Mm.
full power. You will fail along the way, and that is good because you fall down and you get up, and you fall down and you get up.
Mm.
But remember that you're good enough the way you are. Don't be afraid of do anything, to speak up, to stand for your beliefs, to chase after your beliefs.
I
This
like
is
it.
it, I
Yeah.
think.
No, I feel good about that.
Okay.
If people want to find you, throw money at you, hire you, work with you, or take a gender workshop from you,
Yes, please.
how can people find you?
Yes. First of all, they can take a lot of improv workshops with me, and not just gender, because I do a lot of work in improv. They can look me up on Facebook, and I have a website, Instagram, and I really want to open TikTok, but my daughter doesn't allow me to.
TikTok? No, sorry, Mom. No. You'll find her all over the internet, but not on TikTok. So don't look there. Thank you all. This is Improving the World. I'm Lauren, and tune in for more. Bye.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.
So, did you love the video? If you did, please say kind, wonderful things in the comments down below and look for more Improving the World, where I talk to amazing women in improv. Thanks.